Lance is getting on board here. Show's going to start here in about 20 seconds, and we have really a ton of statewide stuff to get to. The 2019 session began yesterday, and it did not disappoint. We've got we're going to go over the speeches of the new Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, President Pro Temp Jim Hendren. We're going to go over both of those speeches today on the program and much, much more.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hey, folks. Good morning to everybody out there. Welcome to the program today. My name is Paul, and you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality where we are building a liberty machine. Yesterday was the first day of the 92nd General Assembly. The 2019 session is underway. A couple of speeches certainly did not disappoint for you political junkies out there. We'll be talking about all of that in the program today. I'll tell you one thing. It was good. Let me be positive for a second. I think it was really positive to hear the leadership of the Senate acknowledge, talking specifically about the President Pro Temp Jim Hendren, acknowledge that corruption is a problem, and it's something that will not be tolerated. I feel like that's a really that's a good thing. We're going to get to his speech coming up probably in about an hour. We'll play Senator Jim Hendren's speech from yesterday when the session began. Also, we're going to listen to the Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, and his speech. He had some I thought it was pretty powerful when he talked about how, and I'm paraphrasing here, that a lot of times the position that we hold goes to our head. I thought that was really good. It's almost an acknowledgement of this marble fever is what it's been called before, marble fever. And you get down there, and Matthew Shepard actually talked about how, we confuse political troubles, and we actually think if things don't go perfect for us down here, that's somehow a bigger deal than what the everyday average Arkansan goes through. It was a very, I felt like that portion of his speech was humble, and it really resonated with me, and so we're going to go over that speech as well from the Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, this hour. We're going to do that here in just a little bit. We've got a lot of stuff to get to. To give you just real quick before we get into dive into what's going on across the state of Arkansas, to give you just an update on the national scene, obviously the government shutdown continues. The President of the United States was outside the White House as, everyone's digging out. You realize Washington, D.C. got like almost a foot of snow over the weekend. President Trump, I've got this Twitter video here. This is what he said to reporters yesterday. Listen to this.
So I've been here all weekend. A lot of the Democrats were in Puerto Rico celebrating something. I don't know, maybe they're celebrating the shutdown. We have a very big crisis, a humanitarian crisis on the border. Everybody knows it. They know it. And many of them are saying, we agree with you. Many of them are calling and many of them are breaking. The Republicans are rock solid. We've got to take care of our border. Many of the people they're all going to get their money. Many of the people that aren't being paid right now are in total agreement with us. You saw the Border Patrol agents. You saw what was happening. They're in total agreement with us. So we'll see how it all goes. I will tell you this. We have a priority. It's the safety of our nation. The southern border has been horrible for decades, and it's now, because of the success of our country, it's now at a level that we cannot put up with. The Democrats have to do something. We need their votes, otherwise we can't solve it. Without their votes, they now control the House. Let's see if they can lead. I don't know that they can lead, but we're going to soon find out.
All right, once again, that's President of the United States, Donald Trump, yesterday. Really, nothing has changed. I mean, this is really, as far as textbook government shutdown stuff, this is what a government shutdown's supposed to be, you know? Who's going to blink first? In the meantime, I really love this. To make their point, Breitbart News has photos of 20 different barriers from around the world demonstrating how they work, all the way from the Vatican to the fence that guards former President Barack Obama. Do you see this one? You see this photo of Elizabeth Warren behind a gate? That is fantastic. So number one, the walls of Vatican City and St. Peter's Square. Look at that wall. That is a massive wall right there. Then you have, let's see here, some more aerial photos of this. Number two, Hillary Clinton's home privacy fence in Chappaqua. All right. Then you have number three, Israel's border fence. That must look pretty nice. Look at it. Wow. Look at Israel's. I don't know if I've actually seen. That is a huge, big, beautiful concrete wall right there. That is crazy. Number four, Hollywood's walled off award shows. Yep. Hey, do you remember when the Democrats put up a wall at their convention to keep GOP protesters out? Imagine that. Number five, North Carolina's Supermax prison fence. Yep. And that's to keep people in. Number six, then you have Obama's backyard brick barrier. You see that? Must be nice. Number seven, the 2016 Democrat National Convention. Oh, look, there it is. Yep. They put up a fence. That's what I was just talking about. Number eight, the barbed wire fence at Guantanamo Bay. Number nine, the gates at Versailles. Let's see, my computer has decided to freeze for some reason. I don't know. I can no longer scroll, so let's just keep going. Oh, there we go. My computer is working again. You have Hungary. You have some photos from Hungary and their migrant crisis, what they've done to fix it. Number 11, I like number 11, Bill Gates. Gates. Is this Bill Gates? Gates. Bill Gates has gates. Yes, the gates of Gates. Number 12, the largest nuclear power plant. There's secure fence. Look at that photo. Wow. They keep people out. And then, of course, you have Elizabeth Warren. She has a fence of iron around her home. It's very immoral. The 2020 Olympic construction barriers. The royal gates of Buckingham Palace. So immoral to try to keep people. Look at those poor people that are not allowed into Buckingham Palace. They're gathered outside there. That's what kind of immoral leaders do we have? And let's see. Bill de Blasio has a brick wall around his house. Let's see. You know, I don't have a fence around my yard because I'm a progressive. 17, Oklahoma's prison fence. I mean, anyway. You get the gist. You can check it out. Andrew Cuomo's mansion. He's got gates around his house. Just go check this out. It's pretty funny. Sure, if you've got any liberal friends on Facebook, in the age of Trump, I mean, does anybody in the age of Trump have people on their Facebook page that are completely opposite? I mean, everyone's so sensitive. I mean, I hope you do. Politics divides us so bad these days. But you post that on your Facebook page, it may trigger some lefties, so you want to be careful about that. So as we continue our coverage of the Arkansas General Assembly, and we're going to tell you everything that's been going on in the last 24 hours, as we continue this coverage, there are going to be times when things are going to happen on the fly, and things are going to happen very quickly. Now, when that happens, more than likely, just so you know, more than likely, Conduit News will be doing digital shorts, digital reporting live across our YouTube channel and across our Facebook. Facebook here is key. But so you want to stay tuned to Conduit News for these. In order to do that, you've got to like the page, you've got to go to the YouTube channel, you've got to subscribe, you've got to click the little bell to receive notifications. And I know that's asking a lot. I get it. But there's also another. If you don't even have time to do that, and let's say the only thing that you have time to do is look at your phone, well, good news for you. You can join the 2019 Legislative Alert System. And this is something that Conduit is wanting to provide you a service, meaning wants to be the conduit of, that basically channels the information from the source of political power to you, the people. Technically, you're the source of the political power. But to say, let's take what's going on at the Marble Palace and let's harness it, let's channel it directly to you. If that's something you're interested in, then you can text the word JOIN to 501-292-2683. Now, this is just to be clear, this is a service that Conduit is offering to you. We're tracking legislation that affects you directly. There will be times in the next 3-4 months where there are important updates, and you're going to need to know about it. And so we are doing everything we can, many things as we can think of, quite honestly, to get you the information. We're doing everything we can to try to keep you informed, keep you involved, whether it is the coverage, the digital coverage of what's going on, listening to these people in their own words, whether it's going to be separate reporting, outside of committee rooms, things like that, or in committee rooms, or whether it's just something as simple as receiving a text message. But if you want to receive that text message, if you want to receive a text and an alert about what's going on, again, you can text the word JOIN to 501-292-2683. Text the word JOIN to 501-292-2683. Anyway, phone. So let's go ahead and reset here, and when we come back, we're going to pick up with this interesting story about the repeal of political contributions. This was written a couple of days ago. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Thanks for starting the beginning of your week with us here at Conduit News Radio. Folks, he's the author. You've heard him on the program before. He's the author of Pushback, Reclaiming Our American Judeo-Christian Ethos. His name is Rabbi Ari Spiro. Rabbi Spiro, how are you this morning, sir?
Oh, I'm just great and glad to be here.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to have you, as always. And, a lot of times I don't really follow what happens when it comes to the geopolitical situations between the United States, between Israel. But I have this headline here, and I thought maybe you could help us address this. Headline from the Washington Times: Senate Democrats back BDS anti-Israel movement with filibuster of Mideast Partnership bill. There's a lot of people out there listening to that headline. They don't even know what BDS is. So what can you tell us about this?
In Arkansas, every single hour there is a politician not getting what they want. For some, it's an absolute nightmare. The sleepless nights wondering if progress will ever come. Lying awake pondering how to grow government in this political climate. asking questions like, why don't my constituents want to pay a few cents more in taxes? Everyday politicians feel abused and neglected. These politicians are starving for power. They're hungry, confused, and they don't understand why no one seems to care. Will you be a patriot and commit today to help these poor, starved for power public officials? It's simple. All you have to do is commit to stay silent and never dissent or stand in the way of your politicians' rise to power. Never speak up or get engaged to stop the growth of government. By committing to these simple steps, you will ensure the life of your politician will be filled with contentment and the respect they are desperately seeking, as well as campaign contributions from lobbyists.
This message brought to you by Aristocrats Serving Arkansas.
PHP Parody. Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, so one of the things, the biggest thing they're going, can you kill those pods, Joe? One of the things that they're going to be talking about at the Marble Palace this session, obviously, is going to be taxes. People are calling for tax reform. Now, originally they were calling for tax relief. Now, tax relief would be less money going to the government. So that would mean that people are keeping more of their money, and the government's getting less of it. That's the definition of tax relief. That's the definition of a tax cut. We'll wait and see what the final numbers are. But as part of these recommendations, the tax task force, they have recommended several things. One of the things that they've recommended is the repeal of a little-used tax credit. If you make a political contribution, you are entitled to an income tax credit of up to $50 or $100 for a couple filing jointly. The task force estimated the tax credit only benefits taxpayers by $500,000 per year. That represents only 10,000 Arkansans. We wonder if the number of people taking advantage of the tax credit will increase on taxes collected this year because of gubernatorial candidates, Jan Morgan, Libertarian candidate, Mark West. They relied heavily on small contributions from individuals. If the tax credit is not having a big impact, then why not repeal it? Before you decide, let's look at the big picture. Now, first of all, let's stop. Did you know that that's true? Did you know if you give a little small time, $50 contribution, that you get to actually write that off? It's like a tax credit. Did you know that? A lot of people don't know this. There has been a significant trend by the Arkansas legislature to limit the influence of grassroots groups. Now, this is a historical fact at this point. Okay, this is not even open for debate. Now, whether it was intentional, meaning the entire legislature, because people vote for bills they don't read all the time. That we're going to see that in the next 4 months. People are going to vote based on how their friend told them to vote, or based on how their friend that they trust paraphrased what the bill was going to do to them, and it makes sense. I don't see how it's avoidable, honestly, because they run so many pieces of legislation. I honestly don't know how somebody is not going to be like, hey, Bob, tell me what this legislation is going to do again. Now the problem comes in. Honestly, it's not a personal thing, but there's many instances where it's what you're being told a bill will do is not accurate. It's not accurate. But it happens all the time, okay? So the fact that the legislature over time has done things to limit the influence of grassroots groups, I think there were one or two people that knew what they were doing, but the whole body, it's so easy to slip something in, okay? So limiting, because the big guys, the big corporations, they're going to be fine, but limiting what grassroots people can do, what the individual can do, the influence of small associations, they don't spend the big bucks that the lobbyists do, okay? The trend also solidifies the power of big special interests, such as Walmart, hospitals, nursing homes, Medicaid providers, insurance companies, big businesses that rely on state government handouts and grants. If a politician does the bidding of the big special interests, as an incumbent, the politician is very hard to beat because the politician's reelection campaign will be well funded by the special interests. The money of special interests makes such an incumbent hard to beat, but changes at the legislature are making it even harder to challenge this combination. Let's first talk about the tax credit politicians want to repeal. $50. Doesn't sound like much, right? Let's talk about this. You can't win an election if you don't get the word out. You can't get the word out if you don't have money. A grassroots campaign has an uphill battle getting the candidate's message out because it takes money. Big special interests have the money to spend on electing politicians. We know that. They and their lobbyists raise money for friendly politicians by holding political fundraisers and lining up employees and other donors. And when it comes to sending money to candidates through PACs, the big special interests have more money to donate to more PACs than anyone else. Fact. It takes a lot of $50 and $100 donations from individuals to try to counter the money special interests can pour into campaigns. No grassroots campaign has effectively gotten out the message. Contribute $50 to my campaign and reduce your state income tax by $50. Special interests fear that could happen. Did you know the Arkansas income tax credit for political contributions is not just for contributions to candidates, but it also applies to contributions to a political party or to a political action committee? You can only receive one tax credit, whether it's to a candidate or political party or PAC, but you have the option. So a lot of people don't even know this is out there. By the way, here's some information that you can use on this. Commerce in Action is different from most PACs. Instead of fighting for a slice of the pie like the special interests do, the Commerce in Action PAC fights against big government intrusion and big government taxes. Commerce in Action supports candidates who promise to reduce the bloated Arkansas government and its high taxes. A contribution to Commerce in Action qualifies for the income tax credit for political contributions. A tax credit can be used for the state income tax that's due this April 15th if the contribution is made before April 15th of this year. A tax credit of up to $50 can be claimed as an individual taxpayer or $100 filing jointly. And by the way, there's a link right there. You see it to commerceinaction.org. It's pretty amazing if you think about it, that this is out there. Nobody even knows this is out there. Now, they're thinking about repealing it, but not yet. But it's out there right now, meaning if you're a family, you file jointly right now, you could give $100 to Commerce in Action, and your state income tax bill drops $100 because it's just, you can immediately claim that as a tax credit. A lot of people don't know about this. This piece goes on, says, it's interesting that Democrats have been silent on the idea of ending the tax credit for political contributions. Democrats are the ones who typically call for public funding in elections, something that conservatives oppose. But getting your money back from the state after making a political contribution is as close to public funding as they will ever get in Arkansas. Why are they silent on this? Perhaps because Democrats, too, depend on campaign contributions from the same big special interests as Republicans, and because small contributions are wild cards that might favor a challenger. Did you know about this little tax credit? Well, they're thinking about repealing it. Wonder why. Feel free. You can check out the rest of that, and you'll see why. You can actually see the historical, factual trends about how the laws that have been made recently, one of them by convicted felon John Woods, have actually made it harder for the grassroots people to participate in politics, but made it easier for the giant corporations to participate in politics. Back in a moment. Rabbi.
BDS is a movement that's very strongly pushed by certain Muslim or Arab sources against the state of Israel. The B means boycott. They go around to different businesses and they try to persuade them to boycott Israel. BDS. And D means to disinvest. That they try to persuade companies not to sell products to Israel, or they try to persuade investors not to invest in any company who might be doing business with Israel. They want to destroy Israel. They're not able to do it militarily, so they want to do it economically. Well, until now, it was understood that no sane person would support BDS, because why would anybody want to do that which would destroy the state of Israel economically? If you destroy a state economically, you've destroyed it. But so the Republicans, seeing that there are people that are trying to promote this BDS, Mitch McConnell brought a piece of legislation, proposed a piece of legislation to the Senate. And the Democrats refused to vote in behalf of protecting Israel from these BDS vultures. And it just shows you the Democrat Party is changing. It's becoming socialist. Socialists don't like Israel. Socialists don't like capitalism. And they don't like America either, as historically constituted. They don't like America. They're socialists. They don't like anything that's distinct. Socialism is, well, we're all the same. There's no America. There's no Israel. There's no Constitution. There's no Christianity per se, unless it's very liberal. And so this is what happens when you have a party that's becoming socialist and it's electing people that are socialists, or in this case, they've elected people that are out-and-out Muslim who have declared that they want the state of Israel to be destroyed. So it's a problem because the Democrat Party represents half of the country almost.
You're exactly right. It is a problem. As a matter of fact, in the first hour, we were talking about the government shutdown, and the conclusion that I've had is because we have a leader like Donald Trump who is actually sticking to what he ran on, and if more Republicans had done that, we would have had a government shutdown like this a long time ago. This is kind of the one we've avoided because it highlights, like you said, sir, the Democrat Party represents half the country. We are a divided nation. We have, urban districts versus rural districts. We have completely different ideas about what's important in life, honestly. And I think that's highlighted even more when it comes to the idea of securing our borders because, to me, it's just a basic tenet of civilization. But then the other side says, no, it's a monument to racism and border security. Well, they say the wall is immoral, so they think border security is immoral, too.
The intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the program. We are in the middle of our coverage of the 92nd General Assembly. It kicked off yesterday, and we're going to play for you a little bit of audio. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance yesterday. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the coverage, but I was doing some live coverage here in the studio of what happened. We got to see the oaths of office. We got to see Chief Justice of the Arkansas Supreme Court, Dan Kemp, was admitted into the House chamber as well as the Senate chamber to do his job of administering the oath of office. To several legislators. It was pretty fascinating, and good to see. Everything is kicking off. My hope in this session what I would like to see, generally speaking, is the full 135-member body be allowed to legislate. Ever since I've been covering Arkansas politics, it seems that there is certainly an effort to control the outcome by setting the goalposts, where they need to be. And if you want to try to do something that's outside of what the establishment has set, the goalpost of, then you kind of get shut down. I would like to see vigorous debate, respectful debate on the issues of the day, and I think honestly, with everything that's happened in Arkansas over the last couple of years, to me, if it was going to happen, I think we're closer to it happening because I think there's leaders that are more comfortable. I think there's state reps and state legislators who have kind of been watching what's going on, and I think they're more comfortable in at least attempting to assert themselves. I could be wrong on this, but that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the full and my encouragement would be, you only have this power once every 2 years. In Arkansas, you only have the power to represent your constituents in this specific way, where we're talking about policy and kind of basically it's the Wild West, man. File whatever you want to file, try to get it passed. You only have the constitutional power for 3 or 4 months every 2 years. That's a big deal. So to the full 135 body legislator, what I would say to you is, you understand that, when this opportunity is over, then you just leave it back to the legislative council to govern the day-to-day affairs. The governor always has his power. The other branches and constitutional officers, they always have power, but you really only have the power that you have. Your power right now, constitutionally, as a legislator, is at its zenith. So I would encourage you guys to don't necessarily cave to what you're told, to the predetermined outcome. Don't let this whole thing be about a bunch of pomp and circumstance, where really you guys are just coming together as a formality. Let it be what the Founding Fathers intended. That would be what I would encourage them to do. The Speaker of the House, I really thought he did a good job yesterday, Matthew Shepard. I enjoyed what he had to say. One of the things he said about really was it was a humble statement. But let's listen to the full thing, shall we? This is the Arkansas Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, his first address to the House of Representatives. This is what he said.
Best friends, family, thank you for being here today, and thank you for this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank God for his love and provision in my life. And regardless of what position I may ever hold, or no position at all, I will always give him all the glory, honor, and praise in both good times and bad times. I want to thank my wife, Allie, for her love, support, and sacrifice as I served here in the Arkansas House of Representatives. Without her support, my service in the legislature, and certainly becoming Speaker, would not have been possible. I say it all the time, but there's no doubt, there's no question that she has the hardest job in the family, managing a household of 3 children while I'm away in Little Rock. I also want to thank our children, Eli, Mary Kate, and Libby, for their love and sacrifice as well. I realized recently that the vast majority of their lives have been spent with me either running for or serving in the House of Representatives. And I've certainly done my best to be there for them at football games, cheer competitions, dance recitals. And this weekend we even hosted 15 10th grade boys in our house. So between that and committee selection, I'm operating on very little sleep. But they have put up with a lot, and I wanted to say thank you to them as well. I'd also like to thank my parents for all they've done for me and our family, for teaching me the values that form the basis of who I am today, for seeing further I see in them and in their careers as a judge and a public school teacher. That's what first sparked my interest in public service and appreciation of public service, and I can never fully repay or thank them for all that they have done for me. I'd also like to thank my sister and my brother, my grandmother, and the rest of mine and Allie's family for all their support through the years. No matter what the need, they've always been there for us, and particularly with my brother, who's also my law partner, along with Will Haggai and Jennifer Rhodes of our office. I believe they're upstairs, who hold down the fort in El Dorado while I'm here in Little Rock, and I'm certainly appreciative of that. Obviously, I have a lot of thank yous to be made, and as I thought about all those that I need to thank today, I also recognize that each of you as members of the House have family, friends, co-workers, and others who have sacrificed and supported you so that you can serve here at the Capitol. And at this time, I'd like for you to join me in thanking all of them for their support and sacrifice that makes our service possible.
Notice that the house has been remodeled. You got new carpet and new desks. That's a thing. They've got brand new, the entire house floor. You got new everything. Different color wood.
For me personally, I'd also like to thank the people of South Arkansas, a few of whom are here today, from my campaign chairman to my treasurer, my outreach director, my communications person, that all have been there with me from the very first campaign, and the many other friends, both Republicans and Democrats, have always been there to support and encourage. I've been truly blessed to never lack for volunteers and support and to enjoy broad-based support back home, and that, I believe, has enabled me to be more effective here in Little Rock. It is always special to represent the good people of Arkansas, and for me it is even more special to represent my hometown where I was born and raised. Finally, I'd like to thank you, the members of the House, for the confidence that you have placed in me. I'm humbled by your trust, and I pledge to always do my best to uphold the tradition and the stature of the House. 22 years ago, I first entered this chamber as a junior at Ouachita Baptist University, serving as an intern in Governor Mike Huckabee's office. I'd sit in the gallery, up on the top row on this gallery over here, and record the action of the floor and report it back to the bill room for tracking. I never imagined nor seriously thought that one day I would later serve as a member of this body. I think back 8 years ago to entering this chamber as a newly elected freshman legislator. At that point, I did not truly know what a blessing it would be to serve with so many wonderful colleagues from all corners of the state and from all backgrounds. Irrespective of politics or policy differences, the friendships I've made here are some of the greatest and most long-lasting that I will likely ever know. 22 years after first stepping foot in this chamber, and 8 years after I first became a representative, I begin my 5th regular session in the House and take on this new role. As I look at you today, I don't see 100 individuals, but rather 100 representatives, each one here on behalf of approximately 30,000 Arkansans back home. As we sit here today on a very important day, many of those 30,000 Arkansans in your district and mine could not care less about the trappings of our offices or how we select our committees or who the chairpersons are. Ultimately, all they care about is that they can live, work, and otherwise enjoy the freedoms and liberties that Arkansans have enjoyed for generations, and they want to pass on those freedoms and liberties to their children. Not unlike what was stated in 1874 and read again today in the preamble to our state constitution, which says, "We the people of Arkansas, grateful to the Almighty God for the privilege of choosing our own form of government for our civil and religious liberties and desiring to perpetuate its blessings and secure the same to ourselves and posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution." We must never forget what a truly humbling privilege this is to serve, and we must never forget who we serve. Our service will likely not be easy. It never is. There will be days in the session where the problems or the issues we face may seem too great, where the temptation is to look for the easy way out. When those days come, I ask that you remember that those are not real problems. Those are minor inconveniences. You think of those who face real challenges today. families who keep watch over a loved one at Children's Hospital or at UAMS just a few blocks away from here. You think of the family trying to make ends meet one day at a time. Or you think of the single mother working multiple jobs. Or the victim of crime trying to put their lives back together. Those are real challenges. Not whether a colleague voted against your bill, or whether you had to wait a little bit longer to present a bill in committee. Or do what I do and go look out the windows to the north, as I've said many times before, and be reminded that the people of Arkansas are going about their lives, and they have trusted us with the preservation of their liberties and blessings. Too often, I believe we've allowed the supposed significance of our position to go to our heads, that we've confused political challenges with real-world challenges, that we've expected everything to go our way around here, but truthfully, we're not entitled to anything. We come here from the four corners of this state to do the people's business. And as long as we remember who we work for, the people of Arkansas, and that this institution, the People's House, is not here for us, I believe we will come a lot closer to meeting the expectations for which Arkansans 145 years ago thanked God for the privilege of choosing. In short, our service is not about me.
Stop.
It's not about you. It's about the people of Arkansas.
Stop. That is fantastic. I just want to say from a speech standpoint, that was amazing. I wish the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, when they quoted this, what you just heard, that's the Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, in his first address, quote, "Too often I believe we've allowed the supposed significance of our positions to go to our heads, that we've confused political challenges with real-world challenges, that we've expected everything to go our way around here, but truthfully, we're not entitled to anything. We come here from the four corners of the state to do the people's business, and as long as we remember who we work for, the people of Arkansas, and that this institution, the People's House, is not here for us, I believe we will come a lot closer to meeting the expectations for which Arkansans 145 years ago thanked God for the privilege of choosing." Number one, it's very well said. Number two, the statement right before that quote, he talked about they've trusted us with the preservation of their liberties. I wish the Gazette would have put that part of the speech in right before the quote that that's just fantastic. I want to just say from a mentality standpoint, setting the tone, that is an encouraging tone. I don't know about you. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, but that is an encouraging tone. It is one that is very humble, and I think anytime you have a leader that is actually legitimately is diminishing themselves in their position, understanding what this is all about, that is very encouraging to me. Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard. And how he is phrasing that. Let's keep listening.
So whether you're from the mountains of the Ozarks or the Ouachitas, or the fields and levees of the Delta, the suburbs and cities of central Arkansas, or as myself, from the pine woods and river bottoms of southern Arkansas, it's time for us to go to work for those who matter most, the people of Arkansas. Thank you again for your trust and confidence. May God bless this house, and may God bless the great state of Arkansas. Thank you.
All right. So that was the Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, and and by the way, if you want to hear that again, you can get this broadcast, podcast, as well as up at Conduit News. The video archives will be available in about an hour from now on YouTube, Facebook, and conduitnews.com if you'd like to go back and listen to it. It's just real. That was just encouraging. I got to tell you. Now, coming up at the top of the next hour, we're going to listen to the other chamber. It's kind of a big deal. We actually have cameras and transparency in the Arkansas Senate now. We'll be listening to Jim Hendren, Senator Hendren, who is the president pro temp of the Senate, and he gave his opening speech yesterday as well in the 92nd General Assembly. where he referenced the corruption that has been so prevalent and so, in the headlines over the last 2 years. He talked about that, which I think is a good thing. Admitting that it is a problem is the first step to attempting to address such problem. And he also said some other things that were interesting. I got several. My phone blew up yesterday when Jim Hendren was giving his speech. My phone blew up yesterday. And so we'll listen to that at 7:05. Maybe you can guess the point when it blew up. Our telephone number, if you want to call or text, is 870-275-9799. But I've got a new telephone number for you. Conduit is working hard to not only do this program and not only, cover what's going on at the Capitol. We're also wanting to give everybody out there as many opportunities as we possibly can to stay informed. So we have a text message alert system that if you're interested in it, you can text the word JOIN to 501-292-2683. If you'll text the word JOIN to 501-292-2683, you'll be put on a Conduit legislative alert system that will be very valuable if you want to stay informed over the next several months. We're going to take a break, reset, and be back in just a moment.
Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor-lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. Are you a conservative-minded young person and want to let the world know about it? Are you tired of rolling your eyes as your professor regurgitates progressive, PC, neo-Marxist nonsense? Then you should interview on Conduit News Radio's Young Conservative segment and tell us about why you believe the way you do. Tell us how you came to be a conservative and what are your views on government. Now, if you're worried that your neo-Marxist professor may also be a right-wing talk radio listening masochist, then names can be changed to protect the innocent. It's the Conduit News Radio Conservative Future segment. To be interviewed, call 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Rabbi Spiro, you look at some place like Israel, and Israel's proven that the wall works. They put walls up, and they protect their borders.
Oh, of course the wall works. And, I've been around, and I remember when the United States wanted to have a deterrent, a nuclear deterrent against the Soviet Union. And the same people on the left would say, the nuclear weapons won't help. It's a ploy. It's a strategy that they use, a verbal strategy. Anytime they don't want something to be passed or to be implemented, they say it won't work. It's just a verbal strategy. The wall will work, and besides, we're only talking about $5 billion. I mean, this Congress sends to other countries tens, hundreds of billions of dollars over the years, so these other countries would be protected. $5 billion is a drop in the bucket. It might not work 100%.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
You guys been hearing those ads for medical marijuana? You've been hearing those ads? I've been hearing some of these ads about medical marijuana. There's a bill out there that's been proposed that would increase the use of medical pot. Is it? Anyway, is it pot? I don't even know. There's a bill out there to to increase the instances, the conditions, if you will, where you can be prescribed the drug. But there's also a call to drop glaucoma, meaning there's a call to, I guess, glaucoma would not be a condition according to this. There's no way, right? Haven't people said forever that marijuana helps glaucoma? I mean, that's been a thing forever. That's like one of the first medical conditions that I heard about, years ago, that medical marijuana would help. It's State Representative Doug House. Now, State Representative Douglas House, you'll have to remember this, but we did a few interviews with him 2 years ago. He was the point man on medical marijuana. Now, he would tell you, whoa. See, it was very interesting last session 2 years ago. It was very interesting to see all these Republicans have to deal with medical marijuana, something that they personally would disagree with, but the people of Arkansas voted to do it, and so State Representative Doug House, he was kind of assigned to be the point guy, the policy guy on pot, kind of dealing with it. And, his caveat, if I remember correctly, was he was just like, well, I don't want to be known as the pot legislator. I don't want to be known as Mr. Marijuana over here. But now most of the bills that we pass, like I think half of the bills, that's what the prediction was. Half of the bills that they deal with now are going to be about regulating marijuana, medical marijuana. It's House Bill 1150. It would increase the number of qualifying conditions from 18 to 57, but it would remove one condition, glaucoma, which doesn't have to do with your eyes, like the pressure behind your eyes or something like that. The Gazette reports that he tried to generate a list that included all conditions that patients may use some formulation of cannabis components to treat. He said the legislation aims to keep patients or doctors from lying so that a patient in need of medical marijuana ID card can get one. We're trying to keep it honest. I was thinking that the other day because I knew there was a limited amount of conditions, and I was thinking about this the other day, how many people, because I've seen these documentaries about medicinal marijuana in other states, and I was thinking how many people just, go to get their medical marijuana card and they lie about what the actual problem is. That's, come on, we all know that medical marijuana is a foot in the door so people can smoke it recreationally, so that people can use it for recreation. That's what it is. Now, I'm not saying that medical marijuana doesn't help people in pain or people who are sick. I'm not saying that there's not some medicinal benefits. I'm not going to say that because there are plenty of people that say it. There are plenty of studies that say it. I mean, every time I brought this up, I've got people that call me who used to take handfuls of pharmaceutical drugs every single day, but instead they now use cannabis, and they don't take any of these pills anymore. They now use cannabis. I mean, I got people that tell me that all the time. Okay, so I get it, but let's also not pretend that there's not plenty of people that use the medicinal excuse to get high and, use it recreationally. Obviously, that's what is going on here as well. So there's a bill to say, let's try to keep it honest so, people will, I don't know. Tell me what you think. Going from, there's 18 qualifying conditions to get your medical marijuana card. This bill would move it to 57. We've got one more hour coming your way next. Don't go anywhere.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk, 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
But nothing in life works 100%. It's certainly going to work 80%. If you can save 80% of the drugs from coming through, if you can save 80% of the American lives who potentially could be destroyed by a criminal, a rapist, a sexual trafficker, people that killed Kate Steinle, why wouldn't you do it? It's not the money. My goodness. They don't want it because they're not on the side of the American people. They want these illegals to come in because they know that they'll vote Democrat. And they'll vote Democrat even if they're not citizens because they have a way of cheating. You give someone a car license, a driver's license, and then once they have that, they're going to be able to vote because the Democrats don't let you check ID for citizenship. They call that racist. Everything is racist. If you breathe the wrong way, it's racist. So these are all just this is language that they use to get their way and to make us feel guilty. If we don't do it, we're racist.
And I think it's fundamentally dishonest as well. It's not accurate. Oftentimes in America we compete over the moral high ground here. I think what we're seeing more than ever is how the dishonest media is really working to the safety, to our disadvantage as far as to I think the safety and security of the people. I mean, the moral high ground is clearly on the Republican side here if the facts were reported. If you report things like the drugs, the sex trafficking, the humanitarian crisis that it is, by providing the incentive to where people are taking their kids across these terrible conditions with the hope of trying to get in here. Then you take into consideration the deaths of American citizens by illegal immigrants that are preventable if we have a secure border. You contrast that with, well, we're in the middle of a government shutdown. Yes, absolutely. It's a shame that we have government workers who are not getting their paycheck, and that's uncertain. But why? Well, it's because there's a crisis down at the border. We have the President of the United States who stays in Washington ready to make a deal in the middle of a snowstorm, and we have the Democrat Party that takes off to a beach in Puerto Rico. I mean, if you just report those facts on the on what has brought us to this point, it's very clear that Republicans have the moral high ground.
No, there's no question. Protecting your people is the moral thing to do. The Democrats would leave us vulnerable, unprotected, and there's a history. This isn't theory. We know that Americans are being killed by many of these illegal aliens. We know that there are gang members, MS-13, coming in to our cities and killing our children. We know that there are Kate Steinle's being killed by illegal immigrants. Of course it's immoral not to have a wall. The Democrats are immoral. They're showing that they don't care about the American people. The people should get up in outrage against these Democrats. But you see, they're socialists. And when you're socialist, as I said in the beginning, you don't care about anything distinctive. So you don't care about American people. You're just caring about universal citizens. You care so much about the universal, because universal is not distinctive, that you ignore, you become callous towards people that are specific. So they're no longer concerned about American citizens. American, that's not part of the universal socialism. We're not, they don't care about American citizenship. They're citizens of the world. Mm-hmm. This is the downside of socialism. As far as these workers, they'll be taken care of. But you know something? These federal workers, they knew about this. They have the most cushy gravy jobs in the country. You can never fire them. They get wonderful benefits, and they don't have to worry about recessions and layoffs. But they all know that there's always a possibility for a government shutdown. That's the deal that they made. In order to get these cushy jobs better than anybody in the private sector, they understand that the possibility of a government shutdown exists, and then temporarily they won't get paid, but they'll get paid everything at a later date.
Yeah.
That's the deal they made.
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right, and I'm so glad that you said that because I haven't made that point yet. You are exactly right. I want to talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, while I have you on the phone, in the context of what we're facing in terms of, you said socialism, and socialists, they tend to think of people as citizens of the world, and they're not for borders and that sort of thing.
They're not.
That's exactly what we're seeing across the pond as well with the Brexit situation. So you have the people of the United Kingdom. They come out and to say, we want to leave the European Union, which is...
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us today. This is hour number 2, and we are now in day number 2 of the 92nd General Assembly in Little Rock. We had an interesting day yesterday, a lot of pomp, a lot of circumstance. We just went over Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard and his speech, which was actually one marked with great humility, and I really appreciated the tone. Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard talked about how the people of Arkansas have entrusted them, meaning the body, the House of Representatives, with the preservation of their liberties. Very, very well said. He went on to say this, and I quote, "Too often, I believe we've allowed the supposed significance of our positions to go to our heads, that we've confused political challenges with real-world challenges, that we've expected everything to go our way around here, but truthfully, we're not entitled to anything. We come here from the four corners of the state to do the people's business, and as long as we remember who we work for, the people of Arkansas, and that this institution, the People's House, is not here for us, I believe we will come a lot closer to meeting the expectations for which Arkansans 145 years ago thanked God for the privilege of choosing." Really good. You can get the podcast of the first hour if you want to listen to his speech in its entirety. Really, really good. Now, on the other side of the Capitol, while this was going on the other side of the Capitol, the Speaker of the House's counterpart, Senator Jim Hendren, who is the president pro temp of the Senate, he took to the floor to give his address. Let's listen in on what that sounded like.
How grateful we all are to have Senator Caldwell back with us today.
Senator Caldwell had a terrible accident involving, I think, a horse. I think he fell off his horse. And anyway, he's doing much better. It is good to see Senator
I know
Caldwell.
this is an answer to prayer for many of us, and we will continue to pray for you and your family to make a speedy and complete recovery, Ron. Second, let me congratulate the new members of the Arkansas Senate. We welcome you all and look forward to working with you to make Arkansas a better place. Let me say thank you to the families, especially the spouses and children of all the members. All of us in this body know that we could not serve without some amazing families standing with us. It is especially meaningful for me today to have all four of my children, my three daughter-in-laws, my soon-to-be son-in-law, my 7 grandkids, and of course my wife, all here with me. We don't get to get together as a group very often. I also want to say it's great to have my dad, I think somebody you all know, former Senator Kim Hendren, here in the chamber with me today. This is the first day of the 92nd General Assembly, a day that we begin the work of representing the people who entrusted us to be their voice in state government. It is important work. It is honorable work, and in many cases, it can be life-changing work for the people of Arkansas. Because our job affects so many and is such a sacred trust, it is important that we determine we will accomplish it faithfully and efficiently. The institution of the Arkansas Senate is a place where we have a solemn responsibility to represent 90,000 people each. We have a history in this body that we allow all voices to be heard with civility and respect. We are all here with the same goal, to do the work that is necessary to improve the lives of all Arkansans. Unfortunately, the work the legislature is charged with doing has been overshadowed for several years by mistakes, misdeeds, corruption, and even illegal actions by a small but not negligible group of our former colleagues. These activities were actions of greed, dishonesty, and selfishness. The behavior was a betrayal of their duty to their constituents, a betrayal to their oath of office, and a betrayal to the colleagues of the institution of the Arkansas Senate. While we cannot change the events that occurred, we can learn from them, and we can certainly control the events that happen from here forward. To all of us here today, the 92nd General Assembly, let us begin this session of the General Assembly today with the determination that the culture of greed and corruption is over. We will not participate in it, we will not ignore it, and we will not tolerate those who do. To those in the gallery or watching via live stream, I want to make sure all understand this does not just apply to members of the Arkansas Senate. Lobbyists, business interests, organizations, and others that have a vital role to play in our process need to be on notice that they will be held accountable for unethical behavior as well. For those of you just elected to the legislature, again, I offer my congratulations. I also want you to understand that there is little that will draw more attention than your mistakes. While the deeds of your honorable service and your colleagues may occasionally get well-deserved recognition, be sure that any misdeeds, real or perceived, will be the shiny objects that garner massive media attention. In fact, we have some organizations on the left and the right that are obsessed with feeding the hatred that many have for those in public service. They would have you believe that the legislature is a wholly corrupt institution run by corrupt, evil people. Let me be very clear about this point. The notion that all members are corrupt is a lie.
Stop.
Those that would portray us...
Okay, this Senator Jim Hendren, we're going to get to the rest of his speech in a minute. The notion that who out there is putting out the information or the idea that all members of the General Assembly are corrupt? Who out there is putting that idea out there? I don't know who that person is. I talk to members of the legislature almost every day who I don't believe to be corrupt. I talk, and you know what? There's many that I don't talk to that I don't think are corrupt or that I don't think are evil. Let me back up for a second. Number one, about Senator Jim Hendren's speech here. It is a positive sign that he started by addressing the corruption. It's been in the headlines on almost a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis. We just had it again on the Friday before the session. We had another former state senator who was indicted, a former lobbyist indicted, connected to the nursing home industry, and the nursing home industry was connected to the bad tort reform bill that was on the ballot this last time for bribing a judge, and the judge admitted it was a bribe. The judge is in jail. It's a big deal. We have convicted felon John Woods. Now, this is why and this has to be pointed out. A lot of people want to talk about, here in a minute, Senator Hendren talks about trafficking and hate. What I try to do on this program is present the facts of what legislators have done, how they've voted, what they've advocated for, what they haven't advocated for. And it is a good thing that Senator Jim Hendren now is trying, at least saying, we've got to do something about the reputation because the people have lost trust in this institution. That is a good thing. It also shows, at least with what he is saying now, that even Senator Jim Hendren has changed. Now, what do I mean by that? How has Senator Jim Hendren changed? Well, he's changed because he supported the re-election of John Woods when everybody knew at the time that John Woods was corrupt. He supported John Woods over the limited government candidate because John Woods was in with the establishment. And I think rightfully so. That's why Senator Hendren says that it was not a negligible group. It might have been a small group in the Senate, but it was a significant group because they have the power. And I think we would be naive to suggest that everything has been rooted out, root and stem, that it is all gone. There still may be more indictments that we don't even know about yet, okay? So I'm trying to be, look at the silver lining here. It's a positive thing that we're admitting the corruption exists. This is a positive thing for the people. It is a baby step in admitting it because we've got to actually now see what it is that you're going to do. So here are some of my recommendations. If the Arkansas Senate is, in fact, serious about rooting out corruption, if they're serious, if this is not just mere words or not spin or political speak, I have a few things that need to happen, okay? If they were to pass a bill that would require Medicaid disclosure, that would be huge. If they would stop legislators from asking or getting attorney fees as consultants for clients as legislators, that would be huge. So number one, Medicaid disclosure. Number two, stop attorneys from making all this extra money on the side. And number three, if they would pass a rule to require all committee votes be recorded, if they would do those three things, it would be seriously addressing the corruption problem in the Arkansas Senate. Those three things. Medicaid disclosure, which would require Medicaid entities and legislators to disclose if they do business with one another, just like any other profession. If you're a legislator, you have to disclose. Number two, stop attorneys from acting as consultants and getting these attorneys' fees and representing bills for their clients. And number three, pass a bill, or a rule, it could be done in a rule change, to require all committee votes be recorded. And you know what? The number four would be on my list, to Jim Hendren's credit, to the Arkansas Senate's credit. You know what number four would be on my list? Live stream the committee rooms, live stream the Arkansas Senate, where we're here watching video, because that is one thing that has been done already. In an effort to be transparent, they are now recording and broadcasting their committee meetings as well as their full session, and they haven't been doing that until this year. Video and audio where you can hear everybody. So this is there are some good things here, but again, it is good to see, at least in words, that Senator Jim Hendren has changed from supporting John Woods over a limited government candidate, because even when we all knew how corrupt John Woods, everybody knew John Woods was being investigated by the FBI, and of course now he's in jail, and so it's good that we're at least talking about the corruption, but now we have to do something about it. All right, we need to do something about it now. And he talked about groups on the left and right that are trying to convince you that all legislators are evil. Why? Who? I don't know who that is. I mean, some people, have accused me of doing that in the past, but I clearly don't think that everybody down there. Do I think the institution is corrupt? Yeah. Institutionally, obviously, or he wouldn't even be talking like this. That the people have lost trust. It's the reason that it's not that the people have lost trust with no basis for it. It's a justifiable fact that the people have lost trust. All right, let's continue here. This is more Senator Jim Hendren yesterday in his opening speech.
All as corrupt, self-serving politicians are pandering to the worst in people. The truth is that we have members in this body that are some of the finest people I've ever known. To make my point, let me give you some examples of some of the actions of some of your colleagues. We have a member who year after year raises tens of thousands of dollars so that children in state care have presents for Christmas. We have a member who has traveled to West Africa 8 times to help build water and sanitation systems for those near starvation. We have a member who flew Cobra gunships in Vietnam, was shot down twice by the enemy, yet still returned to the fight, awarded 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 19 Air Medals, and 1 Air Medal with Valor. We have a member who has gone through the difficult process of donating a kidney to save a family member in need. We have a member who has walked the mountains of Afghanistan and faced terrorism face to face, serving 2 tours over a year and a half away from his family, awarded the Bronze Star with Valor. We have members who have provided homes for dozens of kids in the foster care system and has literally changed the lives for children in need. We have members who have donated thousands of dollars for charities focused on improving the lives of kids in Arkansas. We have members who serve every week in their churches, coaching ball teams, working in their communities. We have good people in the Arkansas Senate who have come here out of a dedication to serve and a determination to make Arkansas a better place. So if most of our members are good, honest public servants, why has there been such a loss of trust in this institution? In fairness, we can't blame the loss of trust and poor perception of legislative integrity on media bias or blogs or even on organizations that traffic in spreading hate and distrust. Our colleagues brought this on us all. So to any member, lobbyist, organization, or business interest who is tempted to stray from the boundaries of ethical behavior, I ask you to realize that your actions bring discredit on us all and will simply not be tolerated any longer. I ask you to join with me in this commitment to raise the standard to hold ourselves accountable to it. One of my favorite military commanders, General Norman Schwarzkopf, said, "The truth of the matter is, you always know the right thing to do. The hard part is doing it." So why do I start this session with an admonition for us all? We will have over 2,000 bills right across that desk in the next few months. We will be voting on issues affecting hundreds of millions of tax dollars, affecting every single Arkansan. We will be voting on issues that affect public safety, health care, infrastructure, judicial reforms, education, and much more. We must do it well. Freeing this institution of the stain of corruption is essential for us to succeed. I am confident that we can do it. We have already begun the process, and I thank you all for your hard work so far. I want to thank Senator Ervin and the members of the Ethics Committee for their work to reform and strengthen our rules. I want to thank this entire body and our staff for moving so quickly with the bold step to approve and install live streaming in the Senate chamber and all of our committee rooms. This was a big undertaking and was accomplished in incredibly short time. I want to thank Senator Ingram for working on bipartisan ethics legislation. I want to appreciate his and other Democrats' recognition that corruption is a bipartisan problem and demands bipartisan solutions. Rule changes, live streaming, new ethics legislation, all are steps in the right direction. As I have said, we have honorable people in the Senate. The change in culture will be led by those sitting here in these chairs this afternoon. It is made by changing our expectations and setting higher standards. It is made by holding ourselves and each other accountable. I know we can do it. I know we will do it. Thank you all for entrusting me with the honor of leading the Senate as we strive together to accomplish this important work for the people of Arkansas. Now let's get to it.
All right, the Senator Jim Hendren. Senator Jim Hendren yesterday, everybody. Again, it's good. It's good to admit the corruption exists. We need three things, though. Medicaid disclosure, to really put some teeth into it. We need Medicaid disclosure. We got to stop attorneys from being able to represent their clients before the legislature and get extra money and through the loophole, the attorney loophole, and record all committee votes. And now you're talking here. Now you've just, in one fell swoop, you've restored the integrity of the Arkansas State Senate. Very two different speeches in a way from, Senator Hendren versus Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard. Back in a moment.
Coming in to our cities and killing our children. We know that there are Kate Steinleys being killed by illegal immigrants. Of course it's immoral not to have a wall. The Democrats are immoral. They're showing that they don't care about the American people. The people should get up in outrage against these Democrats. But you see, they're socialists. And when you're socialist, as I said in the beginning, you don't care about anything distinctive. So you don't care about American people. You're just caring about universal citizens. You care so much about the universal, because universal is not distinctive, that you ignore, you become callous towards people that are specific. So they're no longer concerned about American citizens. American, that's not part of the universal socialism. We're not, they don't care about American citizenship. They're citizens of the world. Mm-hmm. This is the downside of socialism. As far as these workers, they'll be taken care of. But you know something? These federal workers, they knew.
This is Mother Government. My people. The promised revenue gathering to fund my motherly goals, such as the Arkansas Works, Obamacare, private option has commenced. I have asked my representatives and senators to execute my will concerning new revenues, from the tires you use to drive on my roads, the candy and sodas you consume and purchase in my stores, and the digital products you download on my internet. Your sacrifices and tributes, which are owed, display a measure of obedience, but there are still collectible sacrifices I require from the people to increase the work and size of our great government of Arkansas. There are two matters left unresolved. 1. I require a general tribute for all purchases made on my internet. Not just digital products, but all products. My dear children, there are those who would thwart my motherly goals of progress. If you see them, please combat their misguided notions of freedom by using phrases like mom and pop, and tax cheat. 2. I still require more revenue sacrifices concerning your consumption of my gasoline. I require your undying loyalty on the subject. Subjects, in conclusion. More revenue is good. Static revenue is bad. This message was brought to you by your stewards, aristocrats serving Arkansas. Thank you, my children, in advance for your required and expected obedience that keeps society safe and prosperous. And always remember, from cradle to grave.
PHP Parody.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Also, the thing about, there's more than just those three things. Medicaid disclosure, meaning if you are a legislator and you're doing business with a Medicaid entity or provider, that we need to know it. This needs to be disclosed so that we know that may be influencing your vote. There's been a ton of that going on. Still probably some of it going on. Then, of course, we don't need legislators who also get to be consultants. There's a lot of legislators that become consultants once they get down there to make extra money. And then we don't need attorney legislators using the loophole. And then we need to record all committee votes. A lot of people don't know this, but your committee votes are not recorded. They do voice votes most of the time, unless a colleague will request a roll call vote, and so we don't really know how a lot of these legislators vote. Sometimes they'll vote for a bill privately because they know the people won't find out about it in committee, but then they vote against it once they're on the record, but they got it out of the committee and it passes into law. There's a lot of stuff like that just is deceptive, and it provides the opportunity of deception and corruption. But there are other things you could do. I mean, if we get caught doing something unethical in our private lives or illegal in our private lives, we don't have 30 days to amend it and go back but they do. Do you know that if they make a big mistake, if they get caught doing something on their campaign finance reports, as long as they correct it within 30 days after being caught, they get to walk and skate free. They should stop that too.
About this, they have the most cushy gravy jobs in the country. You can never fire them. They get wonderful benefits, and they don't have to worry about recessions and layoffs. But they all know that there's always a possibility for a government shutdown. That's the deal that they made. In order to get these cushy jobs, better than anybody in the private sector, they understand that the possibility of a government shutdown exists, and then temporarily they won't get paid, but they'll get paid everything at a later date. Yeah. That's the deal they made.
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right, and I'm so glad that you said that because I haven't made that point yet. You are exactly right. I want to talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, while I have you on the phone, in the context of what we're facing in terms of you said socialism, and socialists, they tend to think of people as citizens of the world, and they're not for borders and that sort of thing.
They're not.
That's exactly what we're seeing across the pond as well with the Brexit situation. So you have the people of the United Kingdom. They come out and to say we want to leave the European Union, which is, certainly what is a socialist's dream, the whole concept of the European Union. And now we have the elites over there, Rabbi Spiro. They're now saying that we might need that the people are going to need another referendum to make sure they really wanted to do this. They're saying that maybe we don't need to exit from the European Union. And it's just amazing to me that we see this rejection of globalism all over the world, and we have all of these countries, sir, developed nations that are all in the middle of some sort of immigration crisis, and I don't think that's a coincidence. What are your thoughts?
Well, of course, you see, you have a cadre of elitists who want to control the world. One of the things that they do is they erase the whole concept of national sovereignty and basically have open borders, so that once you have a jihadist coming through one part of Europe, and he can freely go through every single country, 20 countries in Europe, because there is no border control. The same thing were happening in our own southern border. There are jihadists, Islamic jihadists, terrorists coming through our borders together with the other people from the south, and they're going to cause another Boston massacre, another Fort Lauderdale, another San Bernardino. They're going to cause that. And so the elites here want a borderless America. They don't believe in sovereignty because it's all part of the universalist utopia that will be managed by the elite. The people are rising up against it, but there's a great power to this deep state. Every country has the deep state, and there's a fraternity, a global fraternity among the elitists. They help each other, and they look down at all of us. Of course, we're not sophisticated because we still believe in America.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program today. We are in the middle of covering the 92nd General Assembly. I'm going to take a quick break here and give you this story, though. Do you read this thing on smart TVs? Business Insider, Ben Gilbert. There's a simple reason your new smart TV was so affordable. It's collecting and selling your data. How many of you out there have smart televisions? I mean, I've got one, right? Actually, sometimes it doesn't work very good, but I do have one. Folks, I want you to welcome back to the program to talk about this Michael Doherty. He's the director of the National Cybersecurity Society, board member at NetShield Corporation. And he's also the author of a book, The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. Mr. Doherty, welcome back, sir.
Well, good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing good. Sir, can you just tell us a little bit about, this smart TV? I mean, what do you know about smart TV? Is it really collecting all of our data, and are they selling it? And where does the government come involved here?
Well, okay. Those two are two broad, great questions.
Oh yeah, loaded question.
When you put little chips into these things, it's not just for your TV, folks, to be your washer and everything else. These companies are in really vicious, tight, low-profit, high-risk competitive markets, TVs especially. They look for any way possible to squeeze, as much juice out of the grapefruit as they can. Well, they do that by monetizing the data they collect on you once they start using their product. So they start learning how to drive cash flow after the point of sale. And so they want you to buy their product so they can make money off it later, so their price goes down up front so they can make a stream of cash later that ends up just data. Okay, and so the value of the data is how much they learn, they can sell to others to learn about how you buy, what you watch, what you're most likely to buy after. That's the type of analysis that is, people go, well, okay. The problem is that this data can be broadened, analyzed, packaged, labeled, and it might fall into the wrong hands. So this is the bigger picture is, what is the government doing about this? Well, not much, because they are so far behind. We have a culture in our federal government, especially, of no accountability. We have turned our government jobs into places you get to land and put tentacles down and they'll never get rid of you. And people that have jobs like that protect them viciously. And so when we have this technological, scientific issue of that we built this entire internet without enough security, and yet the people who are supposed to be protecting us have no accountability, so we have the wrong people with the protection. So we're in a quagmire. It's a tough situation, and it's happening so fast the American people aren't waking up fast enough.
Are there any smart TVs out there on the market that don't have the capability or the companies that are not collecting and selling your data?
I don't know about every company that isn't. I know it's a degree. I don't know that I can't say that every manufacturer is not. I could say that every manufacturer can, but some are. Vizio does it aggressively. They're known as high quality and low price. They go very heavy through Costco. Again, they're not grabbing your name and watching you walk around the room. Okay, they're watching what you're watching and analyzing it and using areas of zip codes and income levels to take all that data in a bigger picture, what they have all over that certain geographical area, and do a sort of cross-analysis. And then have some target to marketing people that want to figure out other things for you to buy.
So I know this may be an irrelevant question, and I actually think the question itself is going to show my ignorance. But when does it happen? Is there obviously the smart TVs are connected to the internet the entire time? So is it constantly feeding the information, or is there a set time where?
Well, you have to use the smart TV factors. I'm an old dude. I don't have my TV hooked up to the internet. I'm 58. I work in cybersecurity and run these things, and I still go click, click, click. So I don't have it all. So the way to protect yourself is to not be using all this internet. I actually watch Netflix on my iPad. I don't watch it on my television. So there's ways to protect yourself. It's not default automatic. You just not activate those features in the smartphone. It depends on the smart television. But the bigger picture is that it's just not your TV. It's not just going to be your TV. The big picture here is, wake up, folks. We are, at the speed of light, our privacy is being drained out our back door faster than we can know. And don't think the government has its act together to protect us. because the government was built not to protect us about a century ago. This administrative state that's gone on that people talk about really are the bureaucrats. Congress doesn't really make these regulations anymore. They let the bureaucrats do it, and congressmen love that because then they don't have to be the bad guy. They just get to point to who someone else is the bad guy and throw their hands up and say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I don't have enough power. And then they get to just raise money and run for office and have a really cushy job, and the bureaucrats get to run the show. And that is what we have to understand is they maybe were okay at it, and we didn't really know it's a problem in the last century, but with medicine and technology, not really caring about those people and not being controllable, now we realize that we have a lot of incompetence that we can't get rid of in the government, and Congress is not anxious to get rid of it.
We're talking with Michael Doherty from the National Cybersecurity Society. Michael, where does the government surveillance state come in terms of the incentive to be comfortable with what these private companies are doing? And actually, I'll reference back to the Snowden disclosures with the NSA and everything else. Some of those documents that he released where you had the government that was subverting these, private corporations, really blurring the line, asking for the keys to new software so that they would have access if they needed it. Obviously, we have the NSA data center out in Utah that we're told, storing every communication, every text message, every phone call in case they needed it in some later date. Where does that come in? And is there an advantage in terms of, the violation of the Fourth Amendment that the government, there's some people in the government, maybe the deep state, that are totally okay with this and even want it and welcome this?
Well, that's right. Look, knowledge is power and data is power, and that's the danger of having all these back doors. And we used to be able to say, well, the NSA is going to have, a big pile, but they don't have time to go through all that. At some point, and this is the biggest concern that's to wake the American public up, at some point you have to rely on the government, and that's why the violation of trust that we're repeatedly seeing by these bureaucrats in all these agencies at the top is so concerning. The FBI is number one right now for what they're doing. When they turn around and decide to investigate a president because they don't like a decision that was going on, it is terrifying. These things have evidently long morphed into their own organisms long ago, independent, and that's scary because that's when politicized data gets used against you. Barack Obama did it. He had agencies turn over data to him that he had no reason to see, so he could analyze and use his political weaponization against certain areas that didn't have housing the way he wanted to have, for example. And so it ultimately, the American public is going to have to wake up to it and be educated by it and demand it change. I don't see anything else happening otherwise because, we don't have a media that defends us. That does not exist, unfortunately, and that puts us in a real disadvantage.
Well, and I will also say, there's a lot of young people that don't have a problem with it. They love the instant gratification, the technology. And then if you ask them the question about privacy, they will say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so I have nothing to worry about. Have you ever heard that mentality expressed by anybody?
Oh, sure, all the time, and that's a logical deduction when you don't understand the bigger picture. And when we don't have news organizations that explain the bigger picture, they don't get it. Why would they? Why would we get it? How can you, just because you use a computer doesn't mean you're a computer expert. Just because you fly on Delta doesn't mean that you can fly the plane. So, and we don't have a government that's protecting us or educating us on this. They're exploiting us. So, they'll learn and then they'll be outraged. And then I wouldn't surprise me if we had a much more, anti-government and more conservative political climate in 20 years when people really learn the hard way that they're just being exploited by this. Because those young people, go ahead, watch the temper tantrum they have if you take away their phone. There's a huge sense of entitlement. That's all they've known. That's their freedom. You take that away, suddenly you'll have a bunch of pitchforks and lanterns strolling down the street.
Yeah,
so
that's a
very
good
interesting dynamic.
Yeah, very much so. We really appreciate it, Michael Dougherty. It's always great to have you on, and certainly enlightening, educating us about all of this stuff with technology. So we appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Hey, have a good week. I appreciate it.
All righty, folks. He's the author of The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. We're going to take a break here and reset and be back in a moment.
Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor-lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas. Are you a conservative-minded young person and want to let the world know about it? Are you tired of rolling your eyes as your professor regurgitates progressive, PC, neo-Marxist nonsense? Then you should interview on Conduit News Radio's Young Conservative segment and tell us about why you believe the way you do. Tell us how you came to be a conservative and what are your views on government. Now, if you're worried that your neo-Marxist professor may also be a right-wing talk radio listening masochist, then names can be changed to protect the innocent. It's the Conduit News Radio Conservative Future segment. To be interviewed, call 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799.
Americanism, or we believe in sovereignty or borders. It's all, though, to take power from the people. Once you don't have sovereignty, and the people no longer control their destiny, it's controlled by unelected bureaucrats, unelected deep staters, elitists. When you have sovereignty, then it's the people who decide their destiny. So it's very dangerous. We have to fight it. If we don't win, we will eventually, slowly lose all of our freedoms and we'll have no say-so in our future. It will be decided by deep staters, elitists, and globalists. And they've got plenty of money on their side, too.
Yeah, they really do. Well, Rabbi Ari Spiro, it's always great to have you on the program. I appreciate you getting up early with us this morning. And again, your book, Pushback, Reclaiming Our American Judeo-Christian Ethos. Folks, be sure to check it out at Amazon. Rabbi Spiro, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Okay, good. Talk to you later.
The Arkansas General Assembly. They're all waiting for the spotlight exposing public corruption to end, so they won't be under so much scrutiny. And during this time, what if you're a legislator and you need money? What if you're slapped with a huge expense? What if your check for consultant services is late this month? Or maybe you just need extra cash now until payday. When that happens, you can't wait. Hi, I'm Bobby Blackmail for the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank, your trusted source to over 135 lenders to get you short-term cash fast. Use the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank today, and you can have up to $12,500 cash in your checking account tomorrow. Dried up bribes no longer coming from Medicaid entities? Handled. Extra cash until your hopeful acquittal? done. And you'll be surprised at how easy it is to get extra cash. Just be an elected official and be comfortable with the status quo, and we'll connect you with a fellow legislator who is ready to loan. It's quick and easy. And don't worry if you can't make the payments, because the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank is designed to help you get through these tough economic times. There are other ways you can pay off your debt, like by voting the way the establishment wants, or by rewarding some with committee chairmanships. So forget about overdraft fees and the spirit of covetousness that sometimes overwhelms the best of lawmakers. Just remember, the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank for short-term cash between colleagues when you need it fast.
Some transactions have long-term consequences.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
So, the other thing we found out yesterday was that Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard assigned committee chairmanships. This happened yesterday. Many legislators finding out in the middle of Matthew Shepard's speech yesterday which committee they were going to be on, because the Speaker of the House, because of a rule change 2 years ago, has all the authority to pick who he wants to be on what committee instead of the way they used to do it. Now, there is some murmurs that they're going to go back to another, the old way or something different than what they're doing now, but we'll see what happens. Conduit News reporting that the 92nd General Assembly began yesterday, and for the first time, the House Speaker appointed all committee assignments, including chairs and vice chairs. Representative Matthew Shepard, a Republican from El Dorado, will serve as the House Speaker and has released his committee assignments for the 92nd General Assembly. And those assignments are as follows. Representative Joe Jett, a Republican from Success, will return as chair of perhaps the most powerful committee, Revenue and Taxation. Now, Joe Jett, now this is interesting, that he is once again the chair of the, he's a former Democrat who's been a Republican for a few years now, and he's back as the chair. Now, it was reported, we were just playing that parody, the Arkansas Inter-Legislator Bank parody. It was reported by the Gazette before Christmas a couple months ago that Joe Jett loaned then Speaker of the House, Jeremy Gillum, $16,000 because he needed it. And that got a lot of people thinking, that's weird. No wonder he switched from a Democrat to a Republican and then got to be the chair, or got to keep his chairmanship as the head of Revenue and Tax. It didn't set well with a lot of people. But I tell you what's interesting is that Joe Jett, his name is being mentioned to be the next Speaker of the House, according to some reports, if Matthew Shepard doesn't seek a second term. So that's interesting. Going down the list, the Education Committee, Chairman Bruce Cozart, Judiciary, Carol Dalby, Public Health, Welfare, and Labor, Jonesboro Republican Jack Ladyman is the chair. Public Transportation, Mike Holcomb, chairman of that committee. Then we have State Representative Charlene Fite, the chairman of the Aging, Children, and Youth Legislative Military Affairs. State Representative Dan Douglas, chairman of the Agriculture, Forestry, and Economic Development, which you would presume that's where if they're going to run a bill to consolidate the plant board and change the plant board, you would assume that would be that committee. I think Dan Douglas tried to run that bill 2 years ago. I think that was his bill. Just a little background there. The chairman of City, County, and Local, State Representative Lanny Fite. Chairman Mark Lowry, State Representative Lowry, has got the nod for the Insurance and Commerce Committee. And the chair of state agencies, Jonesboro Republican Dwight Tosh, is there. And then, of course, at Conduit News, you have the full listing of committee assignments. You can figure out, who's on which committee. Again, it's right there at conduitnews.com. Want to remind everybody that Conduit News is on a mission to bring you the facts in the next couple of months about what's going on at the Capitol in Little Rock. And we're doing this is really, we want to get you the information and we want to provide you with the most opportunity. We're trying to think of as many ways as we can to get you the information. As many ways as we can, right? So we do that through the radio program, but that's only 2 hours a day. We're going to do it by covering the session on the digital platforms. But there's also, not everybody has time to do that. You guys are out, not everybody's at a computer. Not everybody wants to look at their phone and watch a video all day. Okay, we get that. But you still need to know what's going on. And if you still want to know what's going on, we have another option for you. We can give you text message updates about big stuff, big time stuff, alert. We'll send you an alert if you want to subscribe to those alerts. Now, not talking about a normal subscription to the newsletter or anything like that, although that's good too. But if you want like a real live on the ground real time alert, then I would invite you to text the word join to 501-292-2683. You text the word join, that's JOIN, join, to 501-292-2683. And you will get updates when an alert needs to go out. It could be an alert on a tax increase. It could be an alert on a tax increase. It could be an alert on a tax increase or whatever it is. But to stay fully informed about the legislative session, this is one option that Conduit is providing you. We want to be a conduit from the Marble Palace to the people. So please do that. Now, one of the things that I'm sure we're going to hear about in the next couple of weeks is how to fund our roads. This will be a topic of contention. They're looking at all of this comprehensively. They're looking at roads. They're looking at taxes. Roads and taxes obviously overlap. They're looking at continuing a tax increase. I'm sorry. They're looking at continuing a tax that is set to expire, which would require a new vote. A 2012 ballot initiative where we all voted, and it came out to where we were going to increase a 0.5-cent sales tax to pay for our roads for specific projects. There's now talk of keeping that 0.5-cent sales tax when it's set to expire here in a little bit. That's going to be very discouraging because that will be a vote on a new tax when the people voted for it to sunset. So. But everybody's talking about we've got to have funding for our roads. Everybody's talking about how, Arkansas's roads are some of the worst in the nation, and they are. I mean, there's a reason when the Arkansas State Police last year sent out a reminder to make sure people drive in the right lane when they're not passing on the interstates and stuff, and people were furious. It's like, you try driving in the right lane of an Arkansas interstate. I mean, your suspension will just get totally destroyed if you do that. Most people drive in the left lane in Arkansas, whether they're passing or not, because it's better. You got the trucks are destroying the road in the right lane there. And, they do the most damage. There's no question. But see, that's the issue. You will have the trucking industry backing not only an extension of a 0.5-cent sales tax, but you'll have them backing an increase in the gas tax in general. That's what we also have to look forward to. Will they tax diesel and gasoline wholesale before it even gets to the pump? And, of course, it'll get passed on. We'll pay more at the pump. And, folks, the fact that gas is $1.80 right now is going to give them even more incentive to tax you. Even more incentive, because they're going to say, you know what they're going to say? The tendency of big government people to say, well, if we pass a tax on gasoline now, if we raise their taxes now, it's really low and they can afford it. If gas were $4 right now, this wouldn't even be an issue. They wouldn't even be talking about it if gas were $4 right now. They'd be looking to something else. They'd be looking to some other way to do this. But because gas is so cheap, they're not going to be able to stand it. What? Gas is cheap and people have more money in their pockets? Oh, well, let's take some of it. That's what we have to fight. We got to fight that mentality. Government can't grow. Government has got to at least stay the same size or shrink. If government stays the same size and they actually do things like, to grow the economy, then if the economy grows, then government has gotten smaller, technically. But anyway, we're going to continue with this coverage, but we got to be on the lookout for these tax increases. They're going to debate roads. We all want roads, but this is what we have to remember when it comes to funding our roads. We're already giving the government a lot of money to do these things. And the problem is they've spent it on other things besides roads. We all want roads, right? They need to figure out what they could cut so that we can have better roads. What do you think? Arkansas, we'll see you tomorrow. Be safe.